because I forget like legitimately all the time. Introduction to the video. Today we're going to learn about state and props in React. Let's get it. All right, so I'm going to CD into my throwaway folder, and I am just going to create a React app. We're going to call it, I don't know. We're going to make state and props. Really creative name. State and props. Everybody can do the same thing if they want. And seriously, tell me to slow the fuck down if I'm going too fast. I would rather y'all understand a very small amount of things well by the end of this lesson than be exposed to a shit ton of things. This is going to be that kind of lesson. How comfortable, fist to 5, how comfortable are y'all just like making a component? Fist. 3, 2, 2. Cool. So I might have to slow down a little bit.
We did all like theory with Ahmed.
Okay, cool. So, okay, that gives me a much better gauge of where y'all are at. The truth is that you're probably going to need another state and props lesson, just FYI, because it's kind of hard to teach state and props and how it actually works without first understanding how to make a component. Just making y'all aware, which is totally okay that y'all requested this. I'm glad I know where y'all are at now. So React can sure take a fucking while to load up.
Hey John, what do I have to install to get the zish command and to do all that stuff?
You should have to do this: npm i-g create React app. You should do it. I think it's that, but we'll find out. Let me know if that works. For now, though, since you didn't have that installed, I'm going to keep going with the lesson, if that's cool with you.
Yeah, that's cool.
Only because put a thumbs up if you had that installed and everything's working.
What was it? -G and then what else?
npm, sorry about that. I did that fast. npm install -g create React app. Let me know when you have that entered.
Apparently I had it installed, but it said, I had an old version and I can't install globally. So let me uninstall it and reinstall it. But I think it's working now.
Nice. Sweet.
Yeah, it's working. It's working.
Sick. So I'm going to CD into a React app. What the balls? CD into, what was it called? State and props. And let's go ahead and just open this thing in code. And let's take a look at this architecture here. Have y'all opened up React apps yet or not really?
I just did.
Thanks. That was insightful. Awesome. So let's take a look at all these things we have. First thing that we're going to do is we're going to run the default React app that's already here. Kind of like Rails has a default app, React has a default one. And we're going to get rid of all the shit that we're not using. So I'm just going to type in npm start. And when you do that, it should run a React script. And that React script, I have to run mine on another port. So mine's going to be localhost 3001. That's just because I actually have another. If you're either Kat, Colton, or Alan, who's definitely not going to be here, then you know I was working on a React app yesterday, and I haven't shut it down yet. So this is the default React app that you get. It's cool. It spins. It's a nice color scheme, and you're going to erase all of it. But this lets you know that, hey, I created a React app. Huzzah. I typed in something in my CLI, and it didn't break. That's always good. So the very first thing that we want to do is let's get rid of all the shit we're not using. Are we going to use this logo? No, that's the SVG that spins around. So since we're not going to use that logo, not only should I delete it from there, but I probably should delete it from here as well. The good news is everything that you are going to be getting rid of is like pretty much in this source folder. I think, like, I mean, I guess you can get rid of this stuff too. I don't need those. So I could just delete that. Oh, wait, I think I could do delete. Wait a second. Remove? Oh, I thought I had little things I could use. You can hit command and delete while you're there. If you like move up and down with the arrows. Command delete, bam. This index.html, can't get rid of that. Don't get rid of that one. It's an important one. Robots, we could leave that in there. Manifest. I don't actually know what the manifest does. I think it has to do with the internet being able to find it, but I'm pretty sure you could get rid of it. If we want, we could actually leave the favicon.ico on here. I think you could also like change this to something else if you wanted a different favicon. And then let's see. We're going to leave the app styling just because I do think it makes things format nice initially. If you ever watch a Kyle lesson, the first thing he will do is delete that. But I kind of like leaving it in there. We don't need these tests. So I think we could delete this without a problem. We don't need, let's see, index CSS. We're going to leave that. We need this thing. I don't actually know what these are. Cool. And let's make sure after deleting all this stuff that we clean out all the shit here that was dependent on it. So here that was an image tag dependent on the logo. And honestly, we can just get rid of all this stuff. Bam, bam. And now let's make a little title. So I'm going to go to right here. I am just going to return an H1. And this is going to be my. Here I'm going to write John's React app. Y'all can obviously write your name's React app. Great. Cool. That thing I did, the reason why that all formatted nicely was because of a plugin called Prettier and some VS Code extensions. As always, if you want to learn how to do that, please request a lesson on it. It's fucking nice when you get it configured. It's fucking sweet. Let's go ahead and make that capital as well. All right. So if I look here, I didn't break anything. Things are working. We have a React app, and all it is an H1. So anybody confused as to what's going on as of right now or have any questions?
What's the command to run the server?
npm start.
npm start. Okay, thanks.
Any other questions?
I'm getting a red underline on the import in my app.js. It still compiles successfully, but I got a handful of those yesterday. I was just curious what's up with the...
Yeah, I'm getting this one, and I think that it's because I have to do... I don't know what I actually have to do. Here, let's see. Oh, I just have to click allow. What is it? What does the error say? I think you can do a... let's say I'm going to make an error on purpose just so I could try and figure it out. Hang on a second.
The ESLint is disabled.
Yeah, so that was exactly what mine was. Whoops. What I had to do right there was I just had to click on, there's like a little light bulb that came up. If I clicked on that and then said allow everywhere for ESLint, it worked fine. Got rid of it. Doesn't matter. ESLint, do y'all know what a linter is in general?
Kind of for formatting, right?
Yeah, here, look, A equals 4. See how this thing is underlined red? It's not actually formatting. Formatting would be like how the code is supposed to appear. Linting just gives you like little error messages. For me, I can, if I hit command backslash, it opens this, but I don't think it's going to be the same command for you. But I can look at this and it tells me my error. The other place that you can get access to it is in here. I think that the other way you can get access to that is if you do, there's a command for it. I want to say it's like, go to next problem error. So it looks like the default command for that is Alt and then F8. So here, I'll try that. Alt, F8. Yep. So if you're on like an error message and you want to read it, Alt F8. And for me, it's just Command \\. But that's a Vim thing, so kind of. Not really. It's not like Vim is configurable. That's what I configured it to be. Cool. All right. Did y'all talk about state and where state should live in the last lesson? No?
Not
Okay.
where it should live.
What?
Not where it should live. Yeah.
Okay. We'll talk about that in a second. Let me first show y'all what a component is. So in general, React is made of components. The whole point of a component is that what you can do, and we'll leave this as a function for now. We'll redefine it later, just once I get to talking about that. So what a component is I can create another function. I can actually do it right in the same file. Watch this. Ready? Just to show you. I can make a function right here. We will call it header. Bam. We're going to open it up. And now, here, I'm going to return basically this. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to add parentheses, open it up, paste this in here. And this should also be a capital H. And what is this telling me? Header is defined but never used. So if I have this function called header, and this is a React app, I could actually now take this and replace it with something that looks kind of like a custom HTML element is really what I would think of a component as. So now I have this header component in here instead of writing all that code in here. Give this a save. And hey, look, it does the exact same thing. But now I stored that HTML code in its own function. Let's say I wanted to make something more complex. Maybe I want to have a form. Well, we'll do it on here for now. Maybe I want, do I want to do a form? Let's do a button. We'll also have a button. And right now, all this button is going to do is when we click it, it's going to alert a message. So we can say that this button will have an on-click property of, does anybody know what these curly braces do?
You can import stuff, right?
Correct. You can, I wouldn't say you can import stuff. I would say the real purpose of these curly braces is that it's now you are escaping this HTML and writing JavaScript. Does that make sense? Cool.
Wait,
So-
aren't you already writing? You're in a JavaScript file. Does it just recognize the tags because you're using the carets?
Exactly. So in React, in React, when I'm returning something like this, regular JavaScript would not know how to interpret this. But because we've told this to be interpreted through like React, we've told these files to be interpreted as React files, it takes this and it says, oh, this right here isn't just random shit. This is specifically JSX. So even though this is a JavaScript file, this is not specifically JavaScript code right here. This is JSX. And then inside of that JSX, we can escape the JSX to write regular JavaScript again. Does that make sense?
Totally.
Cool. That's the way that I process this. So inside of my onClick, I am going to make an anonymous function just like we would in a regular event listener. And in this anonymous function, I'm just going to alert you clicked the button. And let's see what this does now. Probably should give this button some text. Cool. So now when I go here, bam, you click the button. Is anybody confused by what I just did? Fist to 5 is what I should really be saying. Let's get that fist to 5 going. 5, 5, 5. We're feeling good. Awesome. So I'm going to do what I did with breaking it out into a component just one more time, where now I'm going to make a function, and I'm going to call it alert button. And this alert button is just going to have, well, this alert button in it. So we are going to return, bam. Oh, whoops. Now, instead of having what I have there, I can just render the alert button. Woohoo! Cool. Now everything still works exactly the same, but hey, let's say I had a really complex code base. Wouldn't it be a lot easier to look at this in one file than to look at, oh, I don't know, all of this shit lumped into one spot? And also, maybe I want an alert button in multiple places. This is kind of the beauty of React here. What do we call a header or an alert button? What would I call these things in React terms?
Components.
It's a component. Cool. Does everyone now have a better understanding of what a component is? Awesome. Challenge 2. So let's say I want. What?
Earlier you started to say the point of a component is something. What was going to be the?
I think of it as like custom HTML.
Okay.
Right? In other words, a header is a custom HTML tag. This header is an HTML tag that represents more HTML, but I can tweak the parameters of it, all that shit. Make sense?
Yep.
Awesome. I'm about to introduce yet another concept to y'all. This concept is going to be called state. And I, for right now, am actually going to delete this, and I am going to delete that, get rid of this header function. And now we're going to have these two things. This is kind of a different concept, so I wanted to make it as not abstract as possible. That's the goal. I want to make it as simple and clean cut as possible. First of all, do y'all remember what has to happen in order to make a component have state? Did Ahmed talk about that?
Oh, it has to be mutable.
No. In fact, actually, you cannot mutate state.
But the component has to be.
I don't know what you mean by that, to be honest.
If something isn't a part of, if you can't change a part of a component, then it's not part of state.
I'm having difficulty expressing it in terms similar to that.
That's fine.
So what I was going for is that for right now, where y'all are at, in order to make a component have state, you're gonna have to make it a class component. So that means we have to basically do a few things to refactor this to be a class component. Let's go ahead and maybe, you know what? Let's take some notes for this class. Notes.md, cool, why not? So what was the first thing we talked about? 1, a component is basically just a custom HTML element. Nothing crazy there. 2, we're going to say, what were we just talking about? A class. In order, or actually, let's start with this. For now, if a component has state, it should be a class component. to 3, and then to make it 1, actually we'll just continue it here. To make it 1, we are going to need to, step 1, not invoke the thing. Or I guess what I would say is a class does not have parameters. Step 2, we have to change the keyword. So we have to change the keyword from function to class. We'll have to import React from React. I'm going to write that less explicitly because I think it's better to not in your notes put exactly what you should do. So that way you have to practice that. So you have to import React from the React node module is what we will say there. That's what this line of code does. We're going to have to make sure that the class extends React. So this means that how do I distinguish this thing from, or we're going to say extends React's component method. So what that means is this is like class inheritance. Remember how like we would have to do an active record, like inherits from active record with a less than sign? This is like the same exact thing, but for JavaScript. And the way that we do this is we say it extends React dot component. And now you see how we still have red here. Everything inside of the return, every element to be rendered should be wrapped in the render method. What do I mean by that? Well, up here, pretty simple. We write render. This is how you write a method in object-oriented JavaScript. And there we go. Now everything should work the same. So there's kind of like a multi-step process there to get to this. Something that you should do if you're feeling like you have downtime today, you can start with something as simple as this. Go take something like this, refactor it to be a function, refactor it to be a class, refactor it to be a function, refactor it to be a class, refactor it to be a function. If you do that 3 times, you probably won't forget it. Maybe it'll take you 4. I bet you'll remember how to do it though pretty quick. Definitely worth the drill. So awesome. Fist of 5 on that.
Can you go back to your notes?
I will upload these too. Yeah, cool. Don't copy down the notes. I'll upload them. Awesome. So now that we have this set up, we are going to create a piece of state. Okay? So in order to create a piece of state, we start with this object that we create called state. Is anybody have any questions about maybe why this line isn't showing up red? How come there's no linting happening here? What's going on? Does anybody think that there should be something wrong there, or what looks weird about that? What looks weird about this line too? Both of these lines look kind of weird.
Not declaring anything.
Yeah, I'm not declaring anything. There's no let, there's no const, there's nothing there. So why does this work? This is object-oriented programming. So because we're inside of a class here, because we're inside of this class, I don't need a const. In fact, I can't use a const. I can't use a let because all of these are bound to the class of app. Does that make sense? So this state object is an object that is bound to the class of app. That means somewhere else in some code, if I really wanted to, I could call app.state. And that is an object that exists. Make sense? Cool. Same thing with this function. So instead of writing function render equals that, I don't need this function keyword because this method is already tied to this class. Make sense? Cool.
Would that function render even work?
No. This all this works because it's inheriting from React.component.
Sure.
Cool. Awesome. So now, this is the way that we deal with change in React. Any variable in general that you want to change over time in React, you're going to save as a piece of state. Okay? That means if you want some variable that you can track in your app, you are tracking it with state. Nate, if you have a variable that you want to change in React, what are you going to be tracking it with?
State.
Cool. Sam, if you have a variable in React that you want to change, what are you going to be tracking it with?
What?
If you have a variable that you want to change in React, what are you going to be tracking it with?
I don't know.
State.
State.
Cool. I'm going to call one more person out. Luke, variable in React that you want to change, what are you tracking it with?
State.
Hell yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Awesome. So let's create a variable that we want to change. Maybe instead of it maybe just being like John's React app, we'll make it, we're going to make it like a variable, a name. So what I'm going to do in this state object, I'm going to make a key of name, and I'm going to make a value of John at first. Okay. All righty. So now I have a state. Its value starts off as John. That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to stay as John the whole time. This is the, I didn't say this before, but this is the initial value here. And now, inside of here, I can escape, and I should be able to reference this dot state dot name. Let's talk about this little chunk right here first. Well, let me first show you that it actually works and that I'm not dumb. Hey, look, it says John's React app now. And by the way, you can actually go in and play with the state without having to write any code, just to prove that this works. So if I go into my app, I have a state of a name of John. I can currently change this to cat. Bam, I just changed the state of there. So this is one of the nice things about React is using these dev tools. Does anybody not see a components tab when they're in React? Cool. Right now, everybody, like, even if this is not what the lesson is about, everybody go to Chrome widgets, extension store, and download, ready for this? React DevTools. Why doesn't everybody give me a shout out when they're done? I'm gonna put 2 minutes on the clock for people to just go get that installed. Set timer for 2 minutes.
Okay, 2 minutes and counting.
John, I added the render function in, and it says that I've got it installed, but I added the render function in, and it says that I'm missing a semicolon.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it actually not rendering, or could that be an ESLint issue?
No, it's actually not rendering. I didn't have it in there. I just saw that you had it. I was doing return.
Can you want to share your screen?
Sure.
Sorry, I have to go for it.
Right here.
Oh, well, you have not changed the function keyword to class. And you also have to make it extend React.component, and you also have to import React from React.
Got
And
it.
that should
All
be capital C in component. And you also need to not invoke app. Well, you're not really, that's not really invoked, but you can't have the parameters. You still need app there. You just can't have the, yep, there you go. That should do it, unless I'm missing something. That needs to be in quotes. Yep. Cool, is it working?
Class extends.
Oh, class app extends React component. Sorry about that.
App dot extends, or class app extends.
Yeah, and you need to get rid of the app there. Sorry, my bad. That was brain fart.
That's cool. Yeah, sorry. I was writing stuff down, so I guess I missed more than I thought. Thank you.
It's all good.
Working now.
There you go. Cool.
I'm receiving an error when I'm trying to like compile my web page now that we have like the extends React.component part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I did import React from React in the start, so it could.
Let's do one more debug, and everybody pay attention and see if you could fix your error looking at Mary's. So go ahead and pull up your screen.
All right. So this is what I'm getting as my error.
React.component state. Class extends value undefined. Not a constructor null. Let me see your code. You render and return. I'm not actually. It's not immediately coming to me. What's wrong here?
You never closed the button tag.
What were you gonna say?
The button tag is never closed.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, never mind. It is.
Yeah. What I'm thinking maybe I should do is restart my terminal because.
Yeah, give that a shot.
Open up your what's that thing called? The terminal at the bottom of VS Code.
Oh, you want me to, or the iTerm?
You can use whichever terminal. Yeah, just restart.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, here's my.
Because my errors were showing up.
Oh,
there.
I think you just need to refresh your browser. Yeah. Wait, what?
Here, let me make that go away completely. Let's Control C, stop.
Yeah, that was weird because it wasn't showing any issues on here. Normally it'll show issues on your terminal. This might be an after class debug problem.
Yeah, that's cool with me. Undefined is not a constructor.
Extends.
Yeah, that's an after.
Oh wait, hold on.
Nope, that would not do it.
No, oh right, because that would make it so that that's not done.
Yeah.
That's weird. Cool. We can wait till after class though.
Yeah, that's an after class problem.
Cool.
Awesome. Yeah, I think there's something might be weird about your React or something. Cool. Alrighty. Now what we're gonna do is, now that we have a state, let's try changing state. The next thing I want y'all to take note of, whenever we change state, always use set state. Cool. Let's drill that one down. Mary, when I change state, what function am I going to use?
Render? No.
Hang on. I'm going to give you another chance. Just give me a second to highlight stuff. What method am I going to use to set state? It's literally just called set state.
It's just okay. I was like, there has to be another word.
It will be called set state, and set state is a method, and you call it on the component that you're in. So if I'm in the app component, I actually just say this dot set state. Always. Every single motherfucking time. This ties into what Jack was saying earlier about mutative versus non-mutative. In general, you can't have mutative changes to your state. It has to be non-mutative, and this forces that. What do I mean by that? Something that you can't do, which I guarantee you one of you will try. I can't say this dot state dot name equals John. Bad. Frowny face. As some people may learn during lunch today, no bueno, not good. Cool. What you can do is say this dot set state, and you use this function, and you say name is going to be John. Good. Smiley face. I don't, what is it yes bueno? Si bueno? I'm really bad at Spanish. That's why I need to go to this thing during lunch. Someone help me out here. I took French in high school.
Muy bien.
Muy bien. Is that spelled right?
Sí, claro.
I think that he said yes, something. Alrighty. There we go. So yes, so whenever we change state, we always use set state. Cool. Let's do it. And then I'm going to quiz you on it. So let's do it with a button. For now, we're going to make a button, and we are going to say, let's give this button change name to cat. We'll do someone else because we already changed the name to cat. We'll change it to Grant. Cool. And then we're going to give this thing an on-click method. And again, we escape like the HTML coding kind of situation there by using these curly braces. And I am going to do an anonymous function. And inside of that anonymous function, I am going to say this. What is this reference here?
App.
It references the class of app. And I'm going to call this set state method. Any idea where that set state method comes from? The React library. And I'm going to change the state of name to Grant. Cool. Let's see if it works. Oh, see that? Now notice how the way, let's take a second to compare the way we would do the same thing in JavaScript, right? In JavaScript, what we would do is we would do some coding stuff, and we would say, okay, let's grab this element on the DOM and then change its value. So that means we have to access the DOM element directly and then change some property of it. With React, instead what we do is we change what? What is the thing that we always change when we want something on the page to change? in React usually?
State.
State. So all that we did was we changed state, and then our component, ready for this, reacted to that state change. Pretty cool stuff, right? This is actually just the way that we usually get things done in React. Sometimes you have to do some weird fucky shit, but 99.9% of the time, the purpose of this is that what you do is when you need to accomplish something, you change state, and then everything else follows the cycle. So let's talk about that for a second, because this is what's kind of weird about React. How are we doing on time? 11:46. We're doing good. I'm happy with this. So in reality, this render method is actually constantly reevaluating itself along with state. So as this render method is, it literally is a loop. It is literally looping over itself, and it is checking for changes. When state changes, it changes the thing that it renders. Does that make sense? Awesome. So now when I do this, well, it's just going to state a grant. Let's make this a little fancier so we actually have a cool little app maybe. So what I'm going to do now is maybe instead of making this change name to grant, we'll just call it change name. And we'll get rid of this alert button since we don't really need it. What we're going to do next is we're going to create another piece of state. I'm going to call this name input, and we'll set it to an empty string. Okay. Then I'm going to create an input element. So I'm just going to type in input text. Bam. We'll give it a name of, oh, I don't know, name input.
What was that shortcut that you just did?
That's called an emit abbreviation. So in general, something to try out doing if you never have, anytime you want to make HTML, just start typing the element without the bracket. And this only works in VS Code. If you're using a different editor, it's not native to that editor. VS Code actually invented this shit, and it's fucking sick, and I love it. It's awesome. So let's say I type in H1. See how now it says emit abbreviation on there? I press tab, opens it up. You can do cool things with them. So you can be like h1.header, and now I created an h1 with a class name of header. You can do h1 pound specific title name, and then tab that out. Now I have an ID. You could also do things like ordered list with like, I think you could do like li times 5. Like, oh cool, I just created an order list with 5 elements. It's worth maybe a 15-minute rabbit hole one of these days. It's crazy because you can start being productive with it in like 15 minutes. It's not like a huge rabbit hole to go down. So if it's something you think is cool, I say explore it, because it's not something that's going to be a huge time waster, and eventually will be a time saver.
Is it an extension?
No, it's actually a VS Code thing. VS Code created this thing called emit abbreviations, and there's like a syntax to them. But really all it is like an algorithmic way of making snippets.
A lot of ours aren't working, John.
Yeah.
Like React stuff or emit abbreviations?
Emit abbreviation for
You
React.
might have to go to, oh wait, try going into your settings in the UI and then just looking up emit. There might be something because it's in React. Try it out in HTML. And then you might have to do something. It might be that I have a plugin in emit React. Do you have ES7 installed? I think it might be this. I'm not sure that it's this. We can debug that as a group if y'all want during lunch. Although I don't want to infringe on Spanish time. That actually sounds cool.
I'll add it to the list of the prettier class list because that's not an hour.
That might be a good that might be a good study hall thing.
Okay.
But yeah, prettier would be a good time to do that. Sweet. So now what we've done is what was I doing? I don't remember. I created an input. Oh yeah, I'm gonna uncomment that. So I created an input, gave it a name. We gave it an ID. Let's give it a placeholder. Truth is, you don't really need the ID or the placeholder, and you'll see why. I'll give it a placeholder equals input new name. And then here, I'm going to go ahead and give this thing an on change event. So just like any other event listener, we provide it with a function. So this right here is an anonymous function. If y'all are iffy on this part right here, being an anonymous function, like how does that equal a function? Please request a class on that. That is a great thing to learn. So I'm just throwing that out there because I think that that's something that a lot of people don't understand and graze by, and it can make life a lot easier. But yeah, so what I'm going to do is on change, I am going to say that we are going to, when we change this thing, we are going to, I just want a console.log changing so y'all can see like what's actually happening. So when I go here now, let's just look at this right here. See how every single time I hit a key, it's firing some event? So what I could do now is I can set this state to this value of this event. I can get the value of this event through the event object, event.target.value. So let's just show that. Console.log event.target. What is event.target reference?
The area that's being clicked.
It represents the input element that is changing. And then what we are doing is we're grabbing the value of that input element. So now if I just want to check to make sure that's working right, hello, my name is John. If I delete stuff, it deletes. Cool. So what I'm going to go do here is instead of just console logging that, I am going to say this dot set state, and I am going to change my name input. Whoops. The syntax is you have to have these curly braces in there. And we want to change our name input to event.target.value. And if we look at this thing now, I'm going to refresh the page. We're going to look at app. If I type in hello, hello becomes my name input. What's poppin'? Brand new whip just hopped in. It's all showing up right here in my name input. I don't even like that song. I'm going to be honest. Overrated. Overrated. Sorry. All right, fist to 5 on how that feels. If you understand what's going on, see, I'm just cool. Okay, so people are kind of getting it seems like. So the last thing that we're going to do here, and this is really not a state and props thing. All of this is really just state. Props comes into play when it's like, how do I pass this to another function? Something that y'all, if y'all have another class today, make them fully aware that we didn't go over import export syntax at all. Make them aware of that. We have not covered that. That will help the next person gauge what's going on. Typically, so what that is that typically this alert button, you would put in another file. So I would actually put this in another file and import this alert button. I just didn't teach y'all how to do that today, but I think that that's okay. Some of y'all saw me do it yesterday a lot. Awesome. So Now that we have this done, all I want to do is I want to change my name to the name that I've input. So maybe instead of setting the name to Grant here, any ideas on maybe what I could set it to instead?
This state name input.
Beautiful. So what I'm doing is I'm grabbing that name input and I'm setting my state to that. So let's say I type in hello here, looking at my components, bam. So now my name input is hello. So if I change it, it's going to change to whatever that state is. How do y'all feel about all that? I think the first exercise everybody should do, if they're wondering, like, what is literally the next thing I do? Make a functional component a class component. There was a instructor named Jared who forced me to do that like 5 times, and I'm very thankful for it.
Is there like a quick way that you can explain why one of them was like this.state.name input and the other one is event.target.value?
Yes. This is how we're creating that state. This, if I didn't have this line of code, and I start writing in hello here, my name input is still going to be blank. So remember, this function here, everything from here to here, it fires every single time I change that input. So if this line of code fires every single time, then what I'm doing is I need to set the state every single time the component changes. The event.target.value literally just comes because this onChange event listener is on this input element. So if I want to grab the value of this input element, I can do it through the event passed through this callback function.
Nice.
Does that make sense? Cool. Any other questions?
Where can we see a list of the methods that go inside of? Are those JSX methods, or are they something else? The onClick, onChange.
No, these are HTML events is what they are. So they are
HTML events.
Yeah. So these are HTML events. It's just that in React you have to give them a little bit different of names. So like instead of doing, like here, let's look up the equivalent. We'll do. It also doesn't work the same sometimes in HTML, but I don't know. Maybe you could do React events list. This looks like a solid on blur, on focus, tab index, on input, on valid. Where's on click? Oh yeah, there we go. Oh, here we go. Yeah, I think you just got to kind of go down these rabbit holes. Pointer events. I guess they're called synthetic events. What do you know? Cool. Probably delete that. How are we feeling? What other classes y'all got today? I don't remember.
We've got components from 1 to 2.
Cool. Yeah, my advice would be why? Cool. No, that'll be good. That'll be good because you'll go over like the import export syntax. That'll be good. Just we didn't get to props at all. I didn't want to confuse y'all with props. Understand state first. Maybe props will be tomorrow's problem. I think that That probably would be better in the long run. See if you could build what I just built. See if you could do that without like help. Maybe do it like with help the first time and then second time go solo. Or something like that. Awesome. Alrighty. I'm gonna let y'all go for lunch. Go have fun speaking Spanish. I'm debating whether or not to go. I think I have to take Doomy for a run. Otherwise I would go practice. That'd be fun. That sounds cool as fuck.